If we want this to exist tomorrow, we're going to have to build it, and then we're going to have to maintain it. We're not going to be able to say like, oh, that's how it was done in the past, so I reject it. Because you can't do that part. The past is not the problem. The rigidity where you don't allow new information to cause your brain to change is the problem. I need you to open your mind to the fact that new information exists, and now we get to calibrate, adapt, and keep thinking along the same lines as the old people.
I caught a clip today, and this was Steve Harvey. And apparently this clip is older. And he was talking to this woman who was a sex therapist or sexologist or whatever she was. And maybe it's from 2 years ago. And she was explaining her relationship. She has an open relationship with a man that she lives with. And they're both happy. She loves him. And he had a response. And, Steve Harvey's comes across, I guess he old school. And, old school wisdom. He was like, man, you can't do this because I can't have my woman out with another man and that's not my woman anymore. Men gonna keep hunting until they find the right one. So you got to make that man commit to you. This, that, and the other. And I guess, so that's one part. I'm going to put a pin in that real quick. Then the second part, which is kind of just like parallel, is, I don't know, I caught this Jason Whitlock clip. And I guess recently Andrew Tate got arrested and they like trying to extradite him or something back to the UK on some SA charges and R charges. And so basically it's this picture when he got locked up and he just jumped into, cause he got like these high water pants and this purple shirt. He kind of looked like a,
I've never seen so many people become fashionistas so quickly in my life. I'm just like, weren't these people like a second ago talking about being the most masculine? And like, well, he's not that masculine because he's wearing purple. I'm like, of all the things to talk about, he's pimping out women and raping people. Let's go ahead and just like, anyway, I get it. You didn't like his outfit, whatever. But, priorities, guys.
Well, yeah, but see, it wasn't just that. He's talking about his outfit, but he just immediately jumped into, this guy's gay. And part of the cultures that we've been idolizing these cultures, and he kind of got into the toxic masculinity piece and just identified him as gay. So my point that I'm trying to get at with this conversation is the old school with knowledge, old man wisdom, I think that era is dead, man. I think it's dead. Seriously. Because
it's not dead. I mean, they're the ones who made it to this point and kept it alive. So like, it's not useless. Won't say there's no value, but the people who are making these statements from an older perspective, from a more traditional perspective, it doesn't always apply. That's for sure.
Here's the problem that I have though, Josh, because I get into this it's part of that conversation I had with the deconstructionist dude. People today are attempting to be woke in the sense that they are now awakening to the unconscious thinking that people are doing that just identifying themselves in groups and not just necessarily identifying themselves in groups, but they're just doing what the culture is telling them to do.
Yes.
Right. They're fulfilling roles and they're like, stop fulfilling these roles. You're just being brainwashed and you're doing a lot of these things because you're brainwashed. That's kind of the overall message. What I'm seeing in these two examples that I'm bringing up is a mind that's basically saying, I don't want multiple choices. I want to pick between this is the world that I want to see and all of that stuff, that other stuff, none of it works. I'm not, and the thing, maybe not so much in the Jason Whitlock example that I'm giving you. Well, in the Jason Whitlock example, the idea that you can see what someone is wearing and you can classify their sexuality is a wild idea to me.
Right? That is just batshit crazy. I'm like, you understand there's no evidence here, but the thing you are calling evidence is really something that is highly subjective and super unhelpful. Like, does not focus on his character at all.
No. And you can say a whole bunch of other stuff about Andrew Tate,
Right.
but that's what you went to. And somehow that's some kind of a drop in knowledge and wisdom thing. So, but that was a short clip, and I ain't really get into that like that. But the Steve Harvey thing was, I gotta pull up the forum again, because it's the whole idea of either you with me or you, like, it doesn't hold space for alternative perspectives. It's man's supposed to be with woman, woman's supposed to be with man. This is a monogamous situation. There is no other thing. And I'm going to come up with all these other rationalizations to why it has to be that way.
Right.
But the
This
man
is my
going through
way.
this.
My way is the only way. Other people's way doesn't exist. It just doesn't. It doesn't like it.
Right.
I don't like it, and therefore it doesn't exist.
Right. And so, to me, a lot of people, when I say that way of thinking is dead, it may have helped you survive. You may have created long-lasting relationships, but you did it at the expense of your mind. You gave up choice making. You accepted that you dogmatically. It would be one thing if he were to say, "That's a choice. That's not a choice that I would make."
There we go.
You know, and
that was the part in the beginning that he did that wasn't clarified. The context of, this is my perspective. My perspective is this. I've got this, and the choice I made lined up with my values, gave me these desired outcomes, and I'm happy with that. You made your own choice. You're going to have your own outcomes.
Exactly, and that's the shift that we got to. That's the shift that's going to help society, because the shift is already happening. But if it's, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. It's the Catholic Church not talking about birth control and just saying we don't use it, and then having an epidemic of single motherhood or unprotected sex, because you're not addressing the realities of life. So instead of saying ignorance is not a strategy, because you're just ignoring. That's essentially what things are happening, but we're just going to pretend that they don't happen. And then you haven't addressed anything. So it's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. And that's frustrating to me, because I don't think I don't see, that's not going to benefit. That's not benefiting this culture, the dominant culture right now. When I say dominant, I mean in terms of numbers, not Generation X, but maybe Generation Z. I think they're the number one in the workforce, I think. I'm not sure. But it's not helpful. They already accept the ideas that, there are these choices. Now, how are they going to make these choices? This older knowledge doesn't give them any pathway to that. It's like, the older knowledge is like, well, the other one's not a choice. Just do this. Don't put on those clothes. Wear this. Don't wear pink. Wear blue. Don't wear black. It's not helpful. And I'm not here to say which one the person's supposed to do. And I'm not abstaining from the conversation at all. I'm just saying that it's too many things that would have to be said within that conversation to really hash it out right now. If I focus on the relationship conversation specifically, let me bring up the negatives first of all, because I want to deal with the negatives from the Steve Harvey conversation. Open relationship for a lot of people is just a fear of commitment. That's what it is for a lot of people.
Right.
Without maturity, insecurity, fear of commitment. But I think they kind of go hand in hand, in my opinion. Right? Insecurity or fear of being hurt, or trying to keep things at an arm's distance so it doesn't touch you too much, or just keeping your windows open because you don't really have any long-term commitments. Whereas the long-term commitments are values, right? And long-term commitments are really the things that determine character. A commitment to a long-term commitment in a lot of ways. But those are the negatives. Also, this is why I always harp on the idea of maturity, because I would categorize this as an immature approach to open relationships versus a mature approach to open relationships, where I think there's definitely a method to approach an open relationship from a mature perspective. It's going to be hard, but the thing about it is we can't pretend like it's not a conversation that needs to be had. It's almost like hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil type of thing. And that's just a poor method of going through the world.
Yeah, it's ignorance. You're actively not being aware of the things that are around you.
Good. And the one thing I'll just add on the end of that, because I wish I'd have put it down on paper, but it's going to get a little scattered. A guest, I forgot his name. It was a football coach from, it's in Houston. I mean, it's in Texas. Baylor, ex-football coach from Baylor. He was on Jason Whitlock's show a while back. They were talking about the culture because he always gets into politics and the culture the way things are now. And he was saying that, when I grew up, you just had to believe your grandparents. And that's the problem. People just want to believe. They don't want to see the question, evaluate the question, research the question, look at the alternatives, look at it this way, look at it that way. They just want to say, my grandma said this, and and that's how I'm going to do life because my grandmother said this.
Right.
And that's just, it's not good enough anymore.
It's not where you should end, but it's certainly where people tend to have to progress through. They have to have some boundaries before they start saying, wait a minute, these boundaries don't apply to everything. These rules don't apply to every single person and every single time. What is the nuance? Let me test it myself so I can learn. But not everybody chooses to do that. That is a active process.
That's true. But when I said it's not good enough, though, Josh, what I meant by that is every kid nowadays is being taught research and evaluation skills. They understand what data is. They understand how to, even if they aren't true to data, they know how to construct an argument as if it is evident in the data.
There's more push for it today. We'll say it that way.
There's more, but it's not necessarily push that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is an expectation. So even if they're fraudulent, they have the expectation that, I wouldn't say back it up with data, but there's an expectation to even what's the word that I'm sorry, it's to perform this activity, to kind of like pretend like I'm doing this data evaluation thing, and that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying about it's not good enough when people start looking into like that's not reality or something like that. That's just an idea or a feeling or a belief.
Yeah, I just don't say it. I mean, I'm not deeply immersed in the culture. Most people I listen to, and social standpoint, aren't making arguments with solid data points or anything backing it up. They're just really just like, this is the way I feel, and my feeling is right. If you don't agree, you're a bad person. I'm like, good talk. Glad we could do this. Swipe.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? I've heard people. I wouldn't say that they say that. I would hear, let's say I say something that somebody doesn't agree with. They will point to a data or some kind of a study that backs up their point if they don't agree. Because I don't know what circles I've been around. I've been living in D.C. and was dating in D.C. for a while, and you're dealing with doctors, lawyers, or whatever. And even if I'm just talking to a woman or whatever, they'll point to some study or something like that supports their claim. Now, I wouldn't say that I agree with it, but that's what I mean by there's at least an expectation of it, right? Especially when you're highly educated. There's an expectation.
Yeah, I'm not highly educated. There's some people who they will point out studies at least.
And that's what I mean. If somebody can convince me that a dogmatic approach or approach that just rejects the opposite is still a useful approach today, I just don't know. It's not even that I think it's not useful is not the word. Is it a valuable approach?
I mean, everybody who's an expert does it. So I mean, like it's Dogmatic approach is the first approach you take to become an expert. Like any sports, any person who wants to perform highly in one area ignores the noise, locks in, and says, "This is my approach. I'm going to have this thing. I'm going to follow this thing. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to eat this much. I'm going to work out this way. I'm going to study these things." And like other people are like, you don't have to do all that. It doesn't take all that. What are you doing that for? Why is that necessary? Like, you know what? None of y'all matter. This is my circle. I'm staying in it. I'm staying focused. And so, I mean, like in a sense, there's a way that limiting the options is just super helpful. Like there are helpful constraints, basically, especially when it comes to building a foundation or building something in the outset. Now, as time goes on, you'll want to be able to have a little bit more variability and be able to parse things out.
Let me go with the example that you give of an athlete. I don't really buy that for the fact that you may have talent. Let's say you go from college, you go to the league, you got talent. You figure out very quickly that other people have talent too. So you start to figure out, you know what? I need to change my practice habits a little bit if I really want to stick around here. Or I need to start eating right, because eating burgers is not I can't compete with everybody like I want to by just eating burgers and stuff like that. And whereas though you hear these stories a lot more in the past, it seems to me, where you might have a lot of teammates that are drinkers or drunk or eat terribly. But now the pressure is put on nutrition, the pressure is put on how you maintain your body, because it's round the clock all the time. The technology, the way people think about nutrition, the way people think about kinesthetics, is that what it's called? Just the science that's all involved, all of the things that you can do to tweak your body to get that little next extra edge. I wouldn't call that dogmatic. You have to be amenable to those new technologies, to those changes. I mean, people might say Barry Bonds was
But certainly exploring all the options. Yeah.
So, or any of those people that was hitting a lot of home runs, you know what I'm saying? Or the ones that were, I won't even say, because I know there's no real proof, I think, that he did anything. But the ones who did, we know they took on some.
And they opened up down the road. Eventually, they developed to a point where they could tolerate nuance and tolerate new things and find new ways to pivot. But in the beginning, that's not where they started. They started with a clear direction, with one coach who said do one thing, and they did that one thing to the ignorance of everybody else. Everybody else told them, hey, there's other things you could do. They're like, I don't care. Hey, you could eat right. Don't care. You could go and work out like this. Don't care. I need to learn how to master this one thing. My coach said this, I'm doing that. All in. I'm locking in, and I'm doing that one thing dogmatically until I actually have built a foundation. Now, later on, when I need to calibrate, we can talk about different ways to calibrate. We can talk about different ways that are going to help me get to my goal faster. That's a whole separate question.
We're talking about people who were at least in their 30s, though, Josh. We're not talking about kids, right? I mean, you're talking about
man.
like
All these people
15,
on Toxic
16.
are like pretty young.
I mean, I don't know. The woman that I saw, the one that I'm speaking of, that I saw on Steve Harvey's show, I think she's about 30, maybe at the least 25, right? And so when I hear what you,
by that time, she's a full adult. She should have progressed past that dogmatic stage and said, like, I've learned the rules, and now I need to know how to apply these rules differently.
yeah, so that when I'm talking, I'm never talking about children. Well, if I'm specifically talking about children, I'm talking about children. But my assumption when I'm talking is going to be about the adults. And what mental models are you? Because the example that I brought up, the coach from Baylor, they're talking about a man that's like 60-something years old. And he's talking about his approach to, you just had to believe your parents. And it's like almost at 40, 50, 60 years old, you figure out, well, maybe grandma wasn't right, or about some stuff. Maybe not even about all stuff, some stuff.
Maybe she was right about the thing that she experienced over here. That doesn't apply to me over here because this is a whole different set of situations. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said. So, I mean, people's advice only fits into a certain context. If he's saying believe your parents, I'm like, that's great for children. He's saying believe my parents for you right now as an adult. Then it's like, whoa. That is not a similar situation. Those same rules don't apply in this situation.
That's true. I mean, look, I get sometimes that there's wisdom in saying, I don't know. every time I'm talking, I'm always trying to talk about a useful tool for the future.
There we
I'm
go.
always trying to point at something that's failing that people are doing that's not going to serve the next generation well. That is not going to serve the next generation well within the culture and society that we have. For one, that's deeply rooted in a religious outlook. Those types of ideals sometimes are deeply rooted in religious or conservative or conventional outlook.
They
If
are.
you're not living in that type of life, or you're not surrounded by those types of people, or you don't have that type of mainframe programming in you already, it's going to be a problem because
Well,
there
I
are going
don't
to be
know.
a
It all
lot of
depends which
choices.
part. It all depends which part they're thinking about or focusing on. A lot of times, the religious moral basis, like the moral principles, are reasonable, helpful, useful, timeless. And I think that's something that is more commonly accepted when they came from a religious background, but doesn't mean they're not practical for every human being on earth. And they're like,
No,
hey, don't, hey, if you don't work, you don't eat. Hey, when you go out and eat, you can't steal, you can't murder, you can't lie, you can't go and covet or commit adultery and just randomly run roughshod when we're trying to create these stable families. That's not incongruent with what we like. Doing those things out of order is going to make the order we have threatened. That's not acceptable. Live in these ways, and that's not. You can make a practical case for a lot of principles, for a lot of rules that people have. And there are ways that they work well, and there are times to make sure we have clear definitions of what it is we're doing. So I'm just saying, like, you can't throw out everything just because there has been a tradition or conservative or even a poor application in the past. So
no, I think maybe I misspoke or you misunderstood what I was saying. What I was saying is that if you don't have that on the ground level and you're just out there in the world, then it's going to be a difficult experience for you. If you have that at the ground level, like it's been programmed early in your BIOS or whatever they call it on a computer,
here,
even if you go out in the world, you've got like this baseline something, you have some pieces that you can use. That's what I was saying. I wasn't saying that like you're ruined because you have these principles that came down from a traditional worldview. I'm saying that if you don't really have any understanding of where any pieces fit anywhere in life, and then somebody just comes to you with this thing, it may not, and when I say this thing, let me be more clear. Somebody comes to you with a full worldview, a full worldview later in life, right? Where there's no root to it. It's just more of a, hey, switch out your worldview and put this in place. That's difficult. That's what I'm
super
saying to
hard.
you.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And then when it's the only way I've seen that work is when people do it slowly and start building each building block themselves. I'm like, you now have a whole shift that you have to build, and it works better with people. So it's a real hard challenge to have someone just give you bits and pieces as an adult. Like, all right, change everything you believe, and here's a hundredth of the information. So good luck with that.
Yeah, that's rough, I think. Because everything that you believed before is almost misinformation,
Yes,
right? They say misinformation is worse than no information.
that's
So,
the truth. I mean, yes. If you are driving along and you see a sign that says keep going and the road is fine, and all of a sudden the road is out, I'm like, yes, it's a problem now. The misinformation is much worse. They should just not said anything.
right, man. So, yeah, man. Once again, that's always my focus. What ideas can we use for the future? Like, I think sometimes people, if you can make a case that I can keep, I mean, I guess in isolated cases, but to me, you have to have I'm speaking in pieces. In isolated cases where people have a more conventional, conservative worldview. It's not isolated cases. What I mean is pockets of society. For that kind of a worldview, you need a community. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, 100%. Communities go better.
Right. Those communities, you find less of those communities today than you found before.
Yes, it's true. It's a struggle.
So that's the point I'm trying to really make. And how do we navigate? Because anybody can tell that I have a bent here. I'm bending away from it. Not just because I don't think it's better, right? I think that its intent is good. I think that the world is just developed so much that we got to answer questions better. I'm not the type of person who is just like, I can put my fingers in my ears, cover my eyes and cover my mouth and just not deal with the stuff that's going on. And that's why I brought up the Catholic Church's approach to birth control, because that's a perfect example of, hey, I'm just not going to address it. I'm just.
Well, I mean, they address it. They address it in a way that is very directly unhelpful. They're like, hey, we don't want to stop births. We don't want to control births. I don't care how else that affects things. If you will get pregnant, we want you to have the child. We want it. If you can't take care of the kid, we'll take it. We will take the kid from you. We'll put it in our orphanages. We'll raise the kid. We will do all the pieces. And it's like, but there are other consequences. It's like, I accept the consequences. I'm okay with that. It's like, but what if anybody else isn't okay with that? I don't know. Can't help them. I recommend we do the thing this way. I'm like, all right, well, that way comes with a whole lot of responsibility, a whole lot of mouths to feed, a whole lot of medical procedures, and a whole lot of care that's going to need to come from somewhere. So get ready. Congratulations. You chose this.
Yeah, man. So let me ask you this, though. What do we do? Because there seems to be a lot of, and I don't have a good term for this. I'm going to call it liberated souls, liberated mentality. I don't have a good term for this, and I hope you can understand what I'm asking you while I'm asking this. What do we do with all these people who seem to have broken free from all of this traditionalism and traditional approaches to life? And they're just like, it seems like the number is growing. Whereas though it might be an outcast before, it's like, no, there's a larger and larger community of people who are anti-trad or something like that. I don't know what you would call it.
I mean, they can be neoliberal. They can be people who are really progressive. But right now, we have gotten to a point where people are actively neglected. Their mind is so open that their brain is falling out. I think this is the complaint I have. I have no problem. People are like, I reject tradition for tradition's sake. I'm like, cool, that's fine. Do you accept reality though? Because I need you to accept reality for life's sake. Like if you do that, then we can start coming together and saying, but practically, this is physics. So you're going to have to do that thing, like live, like eat, like work, like build. You're going to have to do that part to have things like provision and just general things we need to survive and society. If we want this to exist tomorrow, we're going to have to build it, and then we're going to have to maintain it. We're not going to be able to say like, oh, that's how it was done in the past, so I reject it just because of that. Like, you can't do that part. The past is not the problem. The rigidity where you don't allow new information to cause your brain to change is the problem. I need you to open your mind to the fact that new information exists. And now we get to calibrate, adapt, and keep thinking along the same lines as the old people, meaning like there were some principles that they came up with that were based in reality. Reality is the part that we have to come together. So like what we do from this part, like we have to start raising people. We have to actively go back to saying, let's talk to you, meet you where you are and see what level you're at. Did you remember that do you remember that you exist? Do you know that other people exist and they have thoughts and feelings too? Do you know about the societal mores and thoughts and feelings of them? Do you know what the rules are, the laws that we have? Okay, now that you've mastered the laws, do you know about the practical physical laws that, like, even if you just pass a law, is it going to change the fact that those things can't happen in reality? All right, if we can get to that level, we're just asking a whole lot. But if you can help someone think through some of those stages, then there's a lot more to be said for what actual solutions solve the specific problem we're going through right now. How can we come up with a new idea or a new rule or a new approach that at least answers this real question we have for our modern day? Because this is a different scenario or different approach or different specific than we had in the past. That part I'm not denying. I just think that some of the principles in the past of problem solving worked. I'm like, we can use some of those things. Can't use it directly. It's not a one-to-one, but it's a generality that we can use. There are some general principles that will work for every human being because this is Earth and we're human. We need to learn what those are.
Okay. I mean, I'm with you. There's going to be some disagreement on that.
There is, but then then you get the competition piece. We get to all try our solutions independently in the world, and that will help give us some clarity on. It's like, well, I don't agree with you things. Like, yeah, but like someone's going to outcompete you, and then you're going to eat, then you're going to starve, and then you're going to need to either make some new choices or starve. I mean, whatever.
That piece is tricky in itself because you're going to have to introduce. What am I thinking? It's not a standard. It's a line. It's not even a threshold. It's a marker to say. It's coming up as two different things for me. So one of it is a lot of times there's this assumption of society can't work like this. Well, what's society, right? If you do something and I say, okay, you can do it, and I know that's going to lead to death for you, some people will be like, all right, cool, bye. But then there's going to be a lot of people. The way the society is now, people won't allow you to kill yourself. This is
they will not.
They always jump in, and they are operating on their view of the world. They're not allowing you to have your view of the world. They feel like it's their duty to impose their view of the world on you. That's one part of it. And then the other one is, it's related to that, is that since they're unable to allow another person to have their view, then even if you are a misfit and you abuse the system as it is, we need the other people who are productive to take care of you because you keep getting your needs met without having to actually do shit. And so because this person feels or this group feels a responsibility for you, a person who can't, and I'm just making, this example, for this person who can't hold their weight within the way society is structured, this person is now on the hook. That's the productive person. And it's almost like this, what did Fromm call it? That sadomasochistic relationship. It's got those tendencies. I can't say which side is which, but the point of it is it's a fusion. It's connected. And each of them need each other. So they need to feel like you're a part of the group. Regardless if you keep rejecting, I refuse to work. I refuse to do anything that anybody asks me to do in society because it's all a social construction and this is all some made up stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they refuse to let you go. And they refuse to let you go do your own thing, which is not going to be helpful. And you could die. You could survive. We would never know because these people will never let you do it by outside of the structure. So
yeah, when there's not a actual respect for individual rights, for appropriate individuals in general, like when we have this collective mindset to say that everyone's part of the collective and no amount of the collective is allowed to go through any pain or discomfort, it's the obligation of everyone else in the collective to take care of everybody else. When we make that a moral standard, that sets everything up for failure because there is no way that one, the collective is not a person, clearly, so it can't do person things. But number two, like it's the challenge of the fact that every individual is going to be subject to very specific issues, problems, concerns, and choices that no other person can make for them. And no matter how much people feel the obligation to intervene You can't live another person's life for them. Like, you physically cannot. They're going to do something else that you won't like, and they're going to eventually do enough of those things where it's going to put them at risk. And some of those people who are put at risk will not be able to be saved.
I agree with you. The tricky thing that's popping up to me is that it seems to me in the past there was a mechanism for dealing with this. Like, you just would get ostracized. Like, just people would just
Yes.
excommunicate you.
There you go. Exile existed for this one specific reason.
But to me, today, if I am assessing this thing correctly, this just kumbaya, everybody come together regardless of character. People have issues. All for one and one for all. I'm not even going to check your character. For some people, like, if I like you, I'm not going to really check your character.
There are some very, and this is frustrating because these are usually intelligent, affluent, developed people who've progressed through all the other stages, and they finally get to a point of like, human life is important. It's worthwhile. And I have human life, and I have dignity. I think every human has human life and dignity, and therefore they all must be at the same level of development I am. We can all come together and hold hands and just share, and it'll be fine. No one will ever be angry again. We can solve all war because we're all here now, and I'm just not going to fight them. As long as I don't fight them, there won't be a fight. I'm like,
right?
No, there'll be a slaughter. There'll be a genocide. Do you see how all of wars have happened since the beginning of time? It's because you have stuff and they want it. And they're not going to come here and share their stuff so that we all can share the stuff. They're just going to take your stuff because you opened yourself up to that. You chose not to fight. You said it. Your words. You wouldn't fight. So now, guess what? They will.
Yeah, man. So I'm back to this original thing where I cannot approach this without a standard.
Right.
There has,
yes.
Because the conversation becomes too cloudy. It's like, oh, well, people can do their own thing.
Within the limits. I mean, there are some ways for you to do your own thing. There are things you are in control over, and that's fine. But the only way to have critical thinking is to have criteria. And so one of the first criteria we're going to have is individual rights, property rights, boundaries.
True. And I'm down for that part. But I don't know, man. It's tricky because I just don't think that we have a means to just say, we don't have law is pretty simple. Okay, you did the thing. Here's the criteria for the law. You did these things. You should be guilty or not guilty, one or the other,
Right.
if we can prove these things. But enforcement of the law, spirit of the law, are people creating laws that are really an example of the spirit of the issue? Like, I don't know, the best answer that's the one that's coming up to me is that's the Canadian whatever law that they had, compelled speech. And I know that that's not really an American thing, really, but it's not that it can't be at some point, but compelling people to use certain language and stuff like that, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm almost like tabling it. Yeah, it's because without the damn standard, man, I can't figure out anything because I think it's just it's just hard to, when I'm saying standard, I'm just like, they are literally people. I believe, this is my belief. I can't really speak for anybody. I truly believe that some people don't understand concepts of something like stealing and having. I don't think that they've gotten to the point that they've made that distinction. And so,
You're right.
and then there's nobody requiring them to learn the distinction at the certain.
They're not forcing them to learn, but they are enforcing the distinction. I think that is the part that law functions. And I think that's the helpful point where your parents, the authorities, the police, the teachers, whoever's in authority over whatever the group at that point in time is like, hey, these are the limits and these are the boundaries. And if you don't understand how property rights work or generally that theft is wrong, we will help you understand by forcing you not to and then giving you consequences.
And that's a perfect lead up to, what about, let's just say, in the last 5 to 10 years, about the many district attorneys that have gone soft on stealing. Like, it's not even, like, you wouldn't even go to jail. Like, people stopped locking people up. They stopped even calling the police. Like, you got videos of people going in stores and taking out pretty much the whole store. You know what I'm saying? It's just, so without that enforcement, or like, you have a law that, or it's not even a law. Let's not even talk about the law. There's an idea that you shouldn't come in. There's property. This store has private property. You're coming in and you're taking it without exchanging money for it. And then there's no repercussions from that activity. That's what I mean by there's no supporting, well, in some cases, there's no supporting activity that makes a person make the distinction. So if they haven't made the distinction by that point, nothing that they've incurred is helping them make that distinction now, because they're not going to jail and there's nothing happening. I mean, does that make sense? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
It makes sense what you're saying. Yeah, there's definitely a risk when when the laws are not properly enforced or not enforced close enough to the offense, then people aren't making that association, and so they're not learning from their clear mistakes. And so I think there's a lot to be said for pointing out what justice is, pointing out what a clear enforcement of the law is. Like, this is the rule. You broke that rule. You need to have consequences for that rule. It's like, well, that doesn't seem very nice. I don't think you need to abuse this rule. I don't need to actively enslave them or cut off a limb or something, but you could probably communicate you can communicate their disrespect for the law and the consequences that come with that disrespect. You break this law, you get the punishment for this crime. It should fit the crime, but you don't. As long as it does that, then that is the purpose of this deterrent. We are trying to get better behavior. We don't want to just punish people. We want actual better behavior. If they steal and break things, we want them to repair the thing and work until they have some way to make restitution. We want good things to happen. And if they can learn not to do that again, even better. That is the rehab we want to happen. We are trying to decrease recidivism.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a difficult thing. I think I kind of went off on a tangent just because it's just difficult for me to understand the picture or how to judge the picture without some control.
Right.
Something
I just think right now there are unhelpful people not using data. And so they're not using data appropriately. And so there is a huge focus on the fact of, like, injustice has happened sometimes. I'm like, fair, sure. And so we need to come down harder on people and do more things. Like, we need to enforce the law, sure. But there's a picture being painted as if laws aren't being enforced everywhere at all times, most of the time. And I think we're skipping over the parts where it is being enforced incorrectly way too much. And we are focusing a lot on the parts where it rarely is being not being enforced well enough. And that's creating significant fear, but it's missing out on the actual realities of the situation. We're still having many, many, many more people in jail than out. And it's really, really not causing them to be rehabbed and do different work at all. We're not actively improving crime. We should work on that. Can we go back to that part? Seems like we skipped over that part. Like, well, this was a bad person. This person did this one. I have a case where this one person was let out of jail too early and they did a bad thing. Okay, I hear you. And that seems like there was a clear miscarriage of justice there. Seems like the person who did a terrible thing did not get the appropriate punishment for their crime. Fair. Let's see why that happened. Let's address why that happened. Cool. But what about, like, the other 99 cases where 90 of them were really harshly applied? The penalty was applied in a harsh way that did not fit the crime. There is some room here to talk about some of these numbers. We're missing a lot of the data, and we're scaring a lot of people to come down harder on people when that's not the bias that we have, meaning that's not the point that the justice system is going through. That's not our problem. That's not our biggest problem.
I think it's not a case by case basis, but it's just when the discussion happens, if I'm gonna bring up an example on one side, I gotta judge it against an example on the other side, instead of an example on one side and like an abstraction on the other side, because it just makes it doesn't hit as hard, right? Because I've seen those cars. I've seen those cases where people watch police videos. Dude was out on attempt. It's like he had attempt murder and a battery or robbery. He already did like 10, 15 years on a attempted murder, something like that, and just came out and like basically he shot the police officer dead in the head. It shut down the whole. It was on camera and everything. And it's not just the fact that it's a police officer. He was just shooting. He was just wilding. He was just doing whatever. It didn't even matter. He went out in the blaze. They took him out. They filled him up. But point of it is that real situations hit harder than, hey, there's this group of people and this thing's happening to them. And somebody's like, well, what group of people? What thing happened to them? Did it happen to all of them? Whereas though in a specific case, it's that person did this thing and that thing happened. And it's not to say that that's wrong or anything. It's just that it just hits harder. That's all.
That's true.
So once again, I went left. That's why I wanted to put together something on screen that I could follow.
Yes, it's always helpful, right?
Yeah.
I love that little track list. It's super helpful.
Yeah. But this all started with old school logic, old school approach to things, and a specific old school approach to things. From the standpoint of, it's almost, let me try to, I'll land one more point with that. Because you've brought up before that we talked about intellectual splitting, right? It's like right and wrong, or just two choices. And a lot of times there's nuance, right? That's kind of the essence of what we're saying right here, right? The thing that's interesting to me is that all of the reasoning that I'm doing is still trying to get down to the splitting. All I'm doing is just entertaining nuance beneath good or bad. Because at the end of the day, it's good or bad for me. Is this good for me or is this bad for me?
Right.
And that's all I'm getting to. Now, if I'm looking at this specific situation with example from Steve Harvey, in his mind, he was like, monogamous good, open relationship bad. I don't need the details, but I need the details, and I need to weigh out the details so I can categorize good and bad, right? So at the end of the point I'm trying to say is that I'm getting to the intellectual splitting, but it just is a more involved process of understanding where to split. That's what I'm saying.
And that's fair. I mean, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have criteria for how they judge things and come up and have a portion where they end up on a good side or a bad side. I'm saying there is a danger to, when you're judging things, when you're thinking through things, to not use the evidence of reality, but instead to use the way you feel about things or the way other people have either felt about it or talked about it to make a decision. And I'm like, oh, we don't need to make irrational judgments. We don't need to go to non-reality. Yes, that is your feelings, other people's feelings or words, to make a basis for our judgment. And I think there is a danger for people to get into an echo chamber or to get into a point of tribalism where like, my side says this, therefore it's right. And I've heard that, and therefore I believe that. And now this is the only way. My side good, your side bad. My side said your side was bad. My side said that this car, this food, this TV, this insert random thing here was bad. And therefore, that's the only way I can think about it now. I refuse to do any other research about it, and I'm not looking into it anymore.
That's what I mean, yeah. But people, that's a stance though, right?
Exactly.
The stance is, and Jung wrote about this, it becomes a fanaticism. What did he call it? He said, he called it dogmatic, but he also said it's some kind of a doubt. It's the doubt that the person buries. It's a repression. It's like in the back of their mind, they try to put the idea that there could be another answer away. And what they're doing is just repressing it.
Recompensated doubt, I think it says.
Yeah. And so this is when people take this real deliberate stance, like, because, all right, here's another example we see. When people talk about homosexuality, like, this is gay, that's gay, and this all, and everything is, the person that's always so hard and bull-nosed against it is like the most suspect person, because they just they're trying to repress the doubt in a sense, right? Where it's like, you shouldn't have to do all of this. What is all of this about?
People have feelings and they respond strongly. And so, like, to describe all passion as like overcompensation, I'm like, that's excessive. I'm
talking about the specific case. I'm talking about the specific idea of repressing the alternative. Because the only way that you can accept the thing that you want to accept is by denying the alternative. That's what I'm talking about. That specific thing in general.
I hear you. All I'm saying is that has never been proven to happen. Phrases that has rarely been proven to happen. The majority of cases of people doing that have just been people who are passionate about their thing. And so I'm like, that can be on the differential of something. It's like, well, maybe they're just really saying no because they really love it secretly. I'm like, maybe, but frequently people are saying no because they hate it. They really just don't like it. And they've never done it, and they don't want anyone to do it.
But no, sometimes they hate it. It's a source of their insecurity.
Sometimes. I mean, rarely
the whole thing is.
Sure.
And I'm not talking about just homosexual. I'm talking about not all. In these specific cases where there's an idea that a person does not want to deal with the alternative of, they repress it. They will, like you say, it's not. Like, I think I can point to cases, if I can just think for a second, I can point to cases where it's definitely happening. I think the thing that's popping up in my mind, it's not.
I just say it's really rare. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying, like, when most people have a very passionate rejection of something, there's usually something behind that they have gone through that has like traumatized them. And so when people are like, oh, it's because you love it deep down and you're secretly trying to put, like, no, it's because they went through a terrible thing. And now they're saying, hey, don't let that terrible thing happen again. I don't like it at all. I'm not repressing it. I don't like it.
I don't think that's the argument. I think the argument is not that they love it. It's the fact that they don't want to question it. They're not saying, I don't want to think about this thing because I secretly love it. They're saying, I don't want to think about this thing because it could raise questions about how I'm supposed to behave. It puts doubt in my mind, whereas though I'm sure I want to be this when I grow up or whatever. And I can't think about any other thing in life. And then you see this, the examples that Young, and I can bring up numerous cases. You see it, it's in Fromm. You can see, I can see it in Young. But you see these cases in reality, whereas though a lot of times he'll say it's a person that develops or seems to develop very early in life. It'll be a person who knows exactly what they want, and they do that thing from the get up. Like they didn't consider anything else in their life. And then somewhere along in life, sometimes they just might be like, who the hell am I? Because they never entertained the idea of anything else. All they did was just focus on the one thing and just almost rejected and repressed. And in extreme cases, but they've done that. So it's not like they're repressing something that they secretly love. It's just that they're repressing the thing that's weakening their focus, the thing that they want to be focused on. So,
yeah,
and I mean, that's the numerous cases of that.
Right. I mean, I think that is an element of focus, is that you actively ignore, repress, and dispel anything else that's going to distract from that.
And so that's the reason why I bring it up. because that's what I mean about the dogmatic aspect of it. And to say that that's the whole idea behind hear no evil, speak no evil, say no evil. That's the whole repression aspect of it.
That is the repression aspect of it. We'll say that. Yes, it's definitely what repression is made of.
And it's a lot of people who deal with that. And to me, the literature says that. The literature definitely, I can point to it there. I mean, if you're saying that there's no studies or nothing that supports it, then that's another situation. But I can
I don't
definitely
think we're arguing the
point it
fact
to.
that it exists. I'm like, no, it definitely exists. But people make it the only thing that exists, and I'm like, oh, that's not even close to the most popular thing. We need to be super clear that when, like, if someone says like, hey, I don't like homosexuality, and like, oh, you must be a secret closet homosexual. I'm like, nah, they probably got actively traumatized early, right? They're probably literally just reporting something they don't like. Maybe people the first thing we're not going to say is that like, oh, you're doing the thing that you hate. It's like, no, we're first they're going to say like, why are you so vehemently against this? Did something happen? It sounds like something happened. Anyway, I think there are better ways to have the conversation that allow us to have some clarity so that we can differentiate repression from actual rejection based off of like some kind of terrible thing happening. I'm pretty sure human beings respond for a reason.
I guess it was still related to the same thing. It's just the idea is to move forward with, and
Yes.
people just going to have to deal with that. People call it dealing with paradox. That's what
They do, which makes me so sad because I'm just like, this is the, I can't find nice ways to put it. Like, this is the lazy way of thinking. Like, this is an overgeneralization. If you come to a point where A is true, but not true, then I'm like, you have not done enough thinking yet. You need to get to the point where the thing you think of as true has more constraints around it. Please have more context, please, and thank you. So it's just, you can't violate the law of identity. You can't start with this point of just saying like, paradoxes exist. Ice is cold and it's hot. Can you believe that? I'm like, no, I can't believe it. You're wrong. You're wrong. It's
not
what
a
you are.
useful idea.
It's not a useful idea because you're not clearly thinking about this. You experienced two different sensations, and now you need to do the work to figure out why it felt this way in a certain time, it felt this way at a certain time. Anyway, it makes me sad because they're like, you just need to learn how to grab a hold of one and grab a hold of the other. This is just the law of averages. I'm like, no, you are incorrect because you have not figured out the extremes yet. You don't know the average. You're just saying things.
I mean, this is one of the pushbacks I have on Robert Keegan and his model, because at the number 5 level, it becomes this multiple identities and dealing with paradox thing, which I'm almost calling BS on, but I'm not sure yet how I feel about it, because there has to be some integrating factor, right? And why would I need multiple identities if I'm me? Because what else would I be if I'm not me? Like, what would I need the extra stuff for? I don't get it.
I mean, yes, you just have to be real clear on what we're calling identities. Are these identities specifically roles? Are these positions? Are these just ways that I appear to other people? Or am I actively changing? I'm like, I think we're getting a little confused in our wording, and now we're saying things differently. And that makes it sound like you mean that I have actual personality disorder, which is unlikely. It's not, we don't all have one.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So it's like looking from the view of the observer or the object of the subject. That's something that comes up in Jungian stuff a lot. And what was her name? I can't remember the name of the lady that wrote the book Personality something. Man, I had to pull it up. I forgot. She wrote about Myers Briggs, Catherine and her daughter Briggs, about the way that they developed the type model.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote that in my book, actually, because when Catherine Briggs started to talk about judging J's versus P's, it's like J's are judged. It's this whole thing about, are you speaking of it, the type from the perspective of the observer or from the subject? And she was typing people like J's based upon their outward activities. So you know how like TE people, they don't think internally necessarily. They think like, no, do this, this got to go here. And this, it's always something out there that they're trying to order and tell you and stuff like that. Whereas though she didn't really give for a perceptual type. She was like, well, their processes are internal. But she just said, she didn't classify it as a J, which is weird because just because the process is internal doesn't mean that the person is not judging. Whereas those socionics doesn't do that, right? So a INTP is an INTJ in socionics. Right. Whereas though in the Myers-Briggs
little
typing,
J.
Yeah.
Like, that's super helpful. Thank you. Thank you for using the exact same letters.
Right. But in Myers-Briggs, it's an INTP, even though a thinking personality in Jung's framework is a judging type. It's just a little backwards and weird to me. But the whole point of it is that her system is really judged from the perspective of the observer. So that was the strange part to me. So when you say, well, are we talking about multiple identities to other people? And in my mind, I'm like, why would that even matter? Why would? I mean, seriously, I mean, because literally, I don't know.
But I mean,
people,
but that is the conversation I have when people are like, you behave differently in every different group you go to, and that makes you a different person. I'm like, you don't understand personhood at all, or identity, or even how people relate socially. You can think of things one way, and that is the only way you accept them. I see.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's the dogma. Hey, he has on high pants. He's gay. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not arguing that point. That is a very clear cut. Oh, this is people get stuck. They get stuck here.
Yeah. I think it's just hard to have if you don't experience that type of life, you can't project that type of life on another person. Because essentially they both are projections. One person is projecting that you're thinking about everything else everybody else gets from you. And the other person, like me, I'm projecting like, hey, you're thinking about yourself regardless of everybody else, like I think about myself regardless of everybody else. And it's just a different way of being. I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong. I'm saying one has a justification if we're talking about reason, not rationality, but reason and a way to judge, which I think you're kind of speaking to is though people really reject a singular way to judge. That's what they do.
They do. But yes, I'm just going to stop. They do.
I mean, this is my favorite commenter came and tried to attack again, you know.
Gotta love it. You got engagement. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. But that was pretty much his argument is like, so in ethics, because, all right, one of my pet peeves, and I think you know this, people like to use concepts and terms as if this has nothing to do with ethics. And I'm calling BS on that. Like all of the terms that you're using have some moral basis.
Right.
And you could try to be, and I think for some people, they believe that, no, I want to be purely objective and with the least biases I can by not even indulging in the ethical morality aspect of it. And I'm just like, that's bullshit. So, so they don't try to engage on that level. Everything is just these instrumental arguments, these rationalizations, in my opinion, right? When I'm talking about specifically how you do things. So he basically was just rejecting that there's no ultimate value that we can judge things on. there's a, you can judge what's going on good for the community. You can judge what this politic is. You can judge if this art is good. All of these things have criteria, but there's no ultimate thing that you can, like, common denominator that you can use to make a judgment. I call BS on that too, right? Because all of these other things are derivatives of life in general.
There we go. Thank you.
Because you need life to do any of that.
There you go. You are alive, so I know you agree with this. So since we can start from that period of life, now we can start having our conversation about how this affects our life.
All right. But then they overlook that part. And
Yep.
he starts getting into a standard, and then he starts going into this thing like courageability. Courageability is the standard. And it's frustrating. I had to stop the conversation at some point because these people, man, I need to stop doing that. It's like sometimes people just don't understand, like, you're saying something that's absolutely ridiculous. Courage, there's a value, there's a standard, and there's a measurement, a method of measurement. Measurement is a method. The standard is an inch or a foot or a unit, right? And so courageability or any type of appeal, like everything he kept bringing up was a process. And it's like, this process is the standard. We've agreed on this process as a means to identifying what's good or bad or right or wrong or whatever. It's like,
yeah, a method is not a measurement. I think there can be a real clear difference. Like, these are what the words mean. We are trying to be super clear now. Like, you can have this standard, and that's fine, but that's not the same thing as saying that you have this method, this process, this whole steps that we follow. There is a specific criteria, a specific measurement that we're trying to get versus an actual step-by-step method that we're talking about. I think we can at least define those terms, if nothing else.
A method can't be, like, here's the thing. If we're going to say, he kept saying courageability. If we're going to say something like that, courageability of what? You know what I'm saying?
What is courageability? I don't think I've heard anyone say that before.
No, I might be saying it wrong, like courageability, but I'm trying to figure out, what did he say? Courageability. He said, I'm using the courageability as a standard while insisting it's merely a process. I'm telling him it's a process. Without the object or the thing that matters, the measurement doesn't mean anything. Like, you could say, oh yes, we're measuring something, but you have to have the something. You can't just say measurements are the standard. That doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
Like, it's like height. Height of what? height of what? Height of things. What thing? So the whole point that he was just trying to get to is that he doesn't believe in, what does he say? So I'm like, a healthy life is the standard. That's the standard. Mm-hmm. A healthy life does not generate answers by itself. No, nobody ever said that. Good answers emerge through inquiry, evidence, criticism, teaching, comparison, and revision. And he's like, I'm dismissing this process. No, but those are processes. Those are not the value. Like, they're processes for the value. For the thing that's valued, they actually help the thing that's valued. And it's like, what is he saying? Like, basically, he's just saying, because I ended the conversation with him, and he's like, you don't want to ask any more questions. Because he's just a constant question. He doesn't believe in the ultimate value. I've told him, I'm like, look, I believe that life is the value.
Right.
Really, we don't have anything to discuss anymore.
Right. We either can agree on this shared value or we don't share the value. If we don't share the value, then we don't have to keep going back and forth about it.
Exactly.
I volunteered my opinion and you said you did not agree with my opinion. And I'm like, all right, well then you need to find someone who agrees with your opinion to have further conversation.
Right. But apparently I'm a bad person because I said I'm done with the conversation not necessarily a bad person, but just I'm not interested in the truth. There's a deeper truth. But I'm like, if you can't even identify a soul standard, how would you be able to tell me what group of things is better than another group of things? Based
I
on
mean,
what?
he's free to make he's free to make a claim and say like, hey, life isn't the standard. There's another standard. I'm like, okay, what is your standard? And then he's free to back up that claim with some actual reasons and give me an argument. I'm like, all
He
right.
won't do that. Well,
I agree.
He can't
I
do
agree.
that.
So this is why it's not a debate. This is why you're not in a losing conversation. This is not even a conversation. This person is arguing, but he's not arguing. Okay, this person is being obstructive, but he's not actively making an argument.
No, because the goal is not really to make an argument. Basically, at the end of the day, I think he's like a deconstructionist, right? They need somebody to be something so they have something to argue about. But if you ask them to tell you what their thing is, there's no thing there. So I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Like you need me to make claims. So now you can deconstruct things. I don't know. We'll get it.
I mean, maybe they'll do some work for you and you can actually find something that's real in life. Like, hey, if you're so interested in deconstructing this random politician made this outrageous claim. What do you think they meant by that? What do you think that was going? You know, since we're talking about pulling things apart, hey, have you thought about what this random baseless nonsense was? I mean, what is their perspective? Please enlighten me, because I would love to hear your thoughts.
I don't know, man. I wish I was thoughtful enough to do something like that in real time.
Just next time, this will happen again. This won't be the last time somebody randomly starts saying, "I want to be right and I want you to be wrong, and I'm going to have a whole conversation about it." I'm like, I'm sure you do. Yes. Let's do more of this, please.
Yeah, man. It's not. I wouldn't call it frustrating in the sense that, just like Dr. Stoller, who says like, it's a lot of people who have a lot of crazy ideas, but at the same time, we don't have a method of really He said it. He said there's crazy ideas and there's irrational ideas and there are nonsensical things. He didn't really help us determine the difference, but we need a method to help us determine the difference. That's the thing.
Reality, evidence. This is our thing. People are like, can this be so heavy that it can't exist? I'm like, well, if it doesn't exist, it doesn't matter. So, nope. At this point, the answer is no. You give me evidence that it does exist, and then we can have some actual conversation.
I got one more question for you, man. Sorry, this just came back. So in going back and forth with this dude, coming to this realization, just kind of like ChatGPTing it up and thinking about things. And because one of the things he was saying is that he's what's the standard? He said the reality is the standard, right? And here's the tricky part. Reality is the thing that is, but humans don't experience reality as just reality. That's not really the value point. The value point is their interaction with reality. Because it doesn't really matter what reality is if there's no consequence for my life. Reality only matters in its relationship and consequences to life.
Yes, that's the part that matters the most, but it is not wrong to say that reality is the standard. It is helpful to say, since reality is the standard, how does that reality interact with my life to make our shared reality the most practical or relevant part of this conversation? Like, we could talk about billions of things in reality, but like practically, there are only 5 or 6 of those things that you and I share that we can both do something about, that both affect our lives. And I think that's the part that makes the conversation more focused, because otherwise we could just debate how things are happening in different universes or different solar systems or different systems, star systems across the world. I'm like, hey, I mean, possibly lots of things could happen differently in lots of different ways, but like, it's not interacting with my life. It's not changing my anything. Nothing wrong with somebody learning about them, but like right now, I have problems right now. I want my right now problems to be solved with right now information. What can we talk about that's going to help?
And just because something is not immediately actionable, to me, it's about awareness, right? Because to me, as I got this answer back, because this was something that the AI helped me kind of think about more, is that reality isn't the standard. Well, reality and consciousness do not exist in isolation. They come together, and that is the coming together of reality and consciousness is the thing. But that's very similar to introversion and extroversion. Whereas reality in and of itself is not the standard. And so I think I've said that before, but the more that I think about that now, where reality meets consciousness is the thing. Because reality is an unknown. Most of it's going to be unknown to you.
Most of it is unknown.
Is unknown to me.
Yes.
But the point where it meets consciousness, and is my life as well, right?
Yeah.
That intersection is where it matters. And
yes,
even when you say something like,
matters.
But even when you say like, hey, things may happen and that's not related to my immediate idea, just because they happen, my awareness of it is where it met my life. Even if it was something that I just heard it in passing, it met my life somehow. Even if I encountered it unconsciously. So to me, that interaction of reality and consciousness, that intersection is the part that matters.
That's the part that matters. I think that determines significance. So that determines relevance. I think those are all the key parts. And so I think it's cool to be able to parse that out, to be able to be clear about the things that, make the most sense and make the most meaning. Because our minds are here to make meaning.
Yeah, I mean, because of the consequences, because what would be the alternative?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Other than that, are you gonna check out this Odyssey? Are you into that type of stuff or no?
I'm not. I thought I was. I mean, I enjoy learning about some history, but like Greek myths, old stuff. I mean, I have not done enough study to say like, this is all not for me. But like, of the things I have found, I'm like, these things have been not for me. Oh man, because I took Latin for a long time. So I did a lot of study of old random Greek myths and Latin stuff. And I'm just like, it's cool. I enjoyed a lot of it, but like these movies, man, I'm just like, I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, people are like, when people tell me how much joy they received of watching these movies, and then like I get there, I'm like, I am not having the same experience. This is clearly a thing that other people are enjoying for things I don't have inside of me. I don't want or care about any of these characters. I don't care if he ever gets home. Doesn't bother me at all. This is taking a long time. So anyway, it's a good movie in the sense that it was well done. Cinematography is incredible. The dialogue was moderately interesting. The action shots were really great. How they did the...
you saw it already?
I went and saw it because they said it was like going to change a life movie. I'm like, now to be fair, these were some of my historian friends, and that was my mistake. I made the assumption that I was going to watch a crazy Nolan film because that's how I expect Nolan to do. But there wasn't this wasn't Tenet. This was Odysseus done the right way, meaning the historically accurate version of the myth. I'm like, cool. So it was. If you've never read the book, this is a substitute to reading the book.
Okay.
So, I'm like, it was well done. There were a couple of changes. See, there was a lot less gay stuff in there. So I'm like, all right, we could switch that out. I'm not mad at you for that. But outside of that, the rest of the stuff was pretty true to the story. So they kept it pretty good for 3 hours. They did a good job of actually including most of the things. So
did you see it in IMAX or regular?
just regular.
Okay. All right. I mean, I haven't read the book. I heard it's, well, not historian friends, but philosopher friends.
It is long. And it is, man, anyway, I recommend the movie. I did not enjoy the book. I'm very biased against a lot of the myths. So, but anyway, if you enjoyed Troy, if you enjoyed even Marvel, this was a cinematic feat, like a comparable, like, look what we can do with technology now. Like, look at this. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Maybe I'll enjoy it, man. The last movie I went to, I don't even know. It was a dud. It was a Steven Spielberg, and it's irritating. What was that movie? This last one.
The Disclosure Day?
Yeah, Disclosure Day. My gosh, man.
Yeah. I saw that and I'm like, I can't do it to myself again. I get my hopes up every time it says Spielberg, and every time he M. Night Shyamalan my I can't stand it. I can't stand when he does that. He's too good for this, man. You were better than this. What
happened to him, man? I mean, because I felt like at some point in time it became like E.T.
Yes.
But with
it's that Third Encounters, man. After Third Encounters happened, he was like, you know what? I could just not finish movies. Fuck it. I'm just not gonna.
Damn, Third Encounters, that's the last one you like from Spielberg?
I think so. I think that one happened after.
That's 77. It's like 78.
Well, he made Jaws, and there were a few other ones. There were a few other ones he made out.
I wouldn't say I was. See, because to me, he was still cutting his teeth at that point, right? Like Jaws and E.T., all right, cool, whatever. But my favorite Spielberg movies are like, didn't he do Schindler's List? Did he not do Schindler's? No, maybe that's not him.
Who did Independence Day? Was that him?
I don't know.
No, that was Michael Bay's first good one. That's right. That's what happened.
But Steven Spielberg, even like stuff like Bridge of Lies was not bad. I even liked AI. That wasn't bad. It's not great.
I did not enjoy that. That was not for me.
Okay. Yeah, he did Schindler's List.
Okay. That was a good one. That was 93. Okay.
I like that. I like Ready
Player One?
Yeah.
Okay. I like the book. I thought the movie was not the book, so I was, biased.
Minority Report, I like that.
Minority Report was okay. I like that one too. That's fair. I'll give you.
The Goonies, I definitely like that, Back to the Future.
Was cool.
Oh, The Color Purple? Come on, you gotta like The Color Purple, right? No?
Color Purple was good. That was well done. Yeah. I can't.
The Terminal was funny.
Which one?
The Terminal.
Man,
with
that was
Tom Hanks, he was stuck.
I can't believe they made that movie. Every day if someone were to tell me that movie was made, I still have to be like, no, they wouldn't make a movie about an airport. That's some bullshit. That is some
wasn't it based on a real story or something like that?
Yeah, which makes it worse. Which made it work. They did not redeem it for me. He did Men in Black. He was executive producer, but he was there. That counts.
Okay.
That was a good movie. I'd like that. He did True Grit. He remade that one. That was good.
I like Lincoln. Lincoln was good.
Lincoln was good. All right, I'll give you that. That's true.
Bridge of Spies.
I don't think I've ever seen that, so I can't really weigh in.
Yeah, it's not bad, man. It's I think that's based on a real story too. It was somebody that was a salesman. He was pretending like he was doing business on the German side or on the East German side of the wall during the war or something like that. And somehow he was getting entry and making his leeway into, I don't know, getting some prisoners back or something. I don't remember. But yeah, man. You said wow, something made in 1977 was the last movie that,
Right? That's the one that stuck in my mind. I'm like, that was great.
and I don't
But
even
then it
see that
just
on
like,
here.
right?
Oh,
Watch him not even be involved. No, he was involved in one of those movies.
Transformers. I didn't know he did that.
I might be thinking of a different. No, Arachnophobia was good. I like that one. 5 Goes West. That was fun.
I never.
All the Animaniacs and stuff. I'll give you. Anyway, Twister was great too.
Dang, I must be seeing different stuff because I don't think I have everything here. But I mean, he's like my favorite filmmaker. You know that.
Yeah. But you actually know something about film, and I know nothing. Zero
I
things.
don't really
about-
know anything about film. I'm just all I know is I like the way he makes movies. That's what I know, and that's all I can really say.
That's fair, and I appreciate the fact that he's made enough good movies to be Hollywood like legendary. Like he is established. Like he is a whole repertoire of work that's very, very respectable. There's nothing you can. There's nothing but like say like he's a staple of Hollywood. He's the reason why most things are the way they are now.
Yeah, exactly. He's I mean, I think he's the biggest living director.
Leisure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Michael Nolan is okay to me. I like him though. The Dark Knight stuff, I
Like that
like
stuff is
that.
good. There was a debate going on around like if what's the best superhero movie or franchise, whatever, and they're like, would you pick the Dark Knight or over like the Avengers? Like, is this even a comparison? And I'm like, I mean, not to me, but I like good good stories. So like the Dark Knight was much better than a bunch of randomness where someone's pretty much shed upon every single Marvel character that I'd grown up with in my comics. So yeah, I hated all the Marvel stuff because I was very inferior to the comics. Have you read the comics? It's incredible. This is a change. It'll change your life. It changed my life.
Oh wow.
But like these movies though were like actual garbage in comparison to the best life altering, story I'd ever heard. So yeah, I mean, when people, for me, I'm like, it's not a comparison. They're like, well, everybody has their own preference. I'm like, if you read the stories, the stories are objectively better than the movies. So it's not really whatever you feel. I'm like, I mean, okay, you can end there, but I personally judge you for that. I'm like, you understand someone died in this previous one, and the one that you're talking about, people snapped their fingers and like you blew up like half the world and random stuff. But like I didn't know any of those people and I didn't know any of those characters. And I just didn't care about any of the things that were happening because you didn't tell a story. You didn't tell you took one of the greatest stories and told not even close to a good story, which was confusing to me. But that's
See, I
my
wouldn't know. I wouldn't
which is
even know.
good. And that's where you should stay. Be happy in that point because that's not the story was not written for me. It was written for people who wanted a different take on the Marvel universe. And that's what they got and they enjoyed it. It was written for them and that was the point. I'm like, great. I am not the audience. The audience is the audience. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it. It's you like I don't know. I wouldn't call it a diehard, whatever. You already in. You all in already. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm an old school fan. I'm all about the silver and bronze age of comics. I'm like, this is where we peaked. And then they were like, we're going to recreate those stories on screen. I'm like, yes, but as not in those stories. We're not going to use any of those stories at all. Like, you don't have to call it. You don't have to call them the same characters. You don't have to call this the Infinity Gauntlet series. It's not doing that. You said you weren't doing those things. So if you just call it something else, pick a new thing.
Did you like Endgame or no?
I mean, I really don't know if I saw Endgame. Like I went into the theaters and I may have caught bits of part 2 because I can't stand a movie that doesn't end. So I think I watched the end of part 2 and I was like, okay, they got some of that back. I guess that made up for some of the fuck ups in part 1. I guess that's something. But anyway, short answer is I tell people no because I'm like, I can't remember the majority of that movie. They were jumping through time and the ant guy did something and then like Hulk was hitting people. And then they were fighting Thanos at the end. And they won. And then all the people were back, I think. So that was better than in part 1 where they weren't back. So I guess that's what it was for. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I never
anyway,
saw it, right?
It's probably tough. So I think it would probably be worthwhile for me to go through the backstories of all these Marvel characters I hate, so I can watch Endgame appropriately. Like, oh, this is what it was building towards. This is the feeling other people had because they'd never seen anything. Well, I guess this is better than nothing. All right.
I mean, look, man, all I can say is what people were coming back and telling me, and they were like, their minds were blown. They were like,
yes, their minds were blown.
Like,
this is crazy.
Everybody's gone. Everybody's dead. And I'm like, who? Like, because I can't even tell you. When they say everybody, I don't know who these people are.
All the cool characters. Name one. I don't know these people.
Hulk, Iron Man.
Right?
I don't know. Who else? Rogue, Spider-Man. I don't know. But they just came back and they were like, yo, everyone's gone. All of it's gone.
Yes, it was devastating. Okay. People were very, very shocked. It was wild. But you know, I'd grown up on these characters in a real way, and I'm like, the character you were attached to is a inferior version. But I hear you. Your version went away for now, and you know, maybe forever, but definitely for right now. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, interesting to me. I love The Dark Knight. I thought it was a well-told story. Might be better than a lot of the comics. You know, I was like, this was well done, Christopher Nolan. Good job. Whereas when people were like comparing that to like any of the Marvel movies, I'm just like, so none of these Marvel movies have been written down in a way that makes any sense. And they definitely weren't the psychological, mind-bending, morality, thriller type of high points. Like, you know, this was poorly written, right? They made a bunch of big explosions and big fights, which were cool. I thought the fight scenes were awesome, actually. Yes. They didn't make a movie. It wasn't a plot, but it was a cool feature.
What do you think about this? Because I don't know the difference between the two. I don't even, what's the other one? It's not Marvel, it's the other one. The other group of people.
DC
Comics. What do you into this Black Noir Spider-Man thing?
No. This is a very nuanced, very niche audience of like people who like the artistic style. And I'm like, okay, if I was an artist and I wanted to see how people would tell a cool detective story in under certain like backlit kind of scenarios where we're playing off contrast, I'm like, that's really interesting for artists who really want to see the different ways we can use lighting to tell a story and convey a mood. I'm like, cool. Awesome. As a human being who wants to hear something in the performance genre, this is not it. This is not that. This is a terrible detective story with superpowers. I hate this. Meaning, please you could take this portion, the story you're telling, and incorporate the performance genre where your character actively goes through things and becomes better, and I will watch it. And I will not hate all of it. But just saying, look, it's cool because the lighting's different, and now he has to solve crime. I'm like, what? Isn't he overpowered? Can he just beat crime? Can't he finish the job of both the detectives and the police tonight? Isn't this going to be a short movie? And they're like, no. Now we're going to have him go through the back alleys and like find clues and do random stuff. You know, he's a super genius, right? You know, he's like the smartest person in this whole universe. He's like the best point in this, at least the city. I mean, he's not being outcompeted in the city. He's clearly the smartest person here. He doesn't have to follow after normies. He could just like design a machine and like have it.
Is it
track
really
them
Peter
down.
Parker, or
It's
is it somebody else? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I got nothing. People said that if you enjoy that style, you can watch it in color, then watch it in black and white, and that'll give you a different perspective of how to appreciate the different artistic styles. And I was like, okay, that is something for people who study art to do. They should let me know how well they enjoyed it, because it's not. I am not that audience. I am staunchly against aesthetics for aesthetic's sake. I'm like, I am not. I don't know enough about it. I'm not good at it. I don't know how to appreciate this. You're speaking above my, punching above my weight there. I'm like, I don't know.
That's fair. Well, yeah, man, I'm gonna go check out Odyssey this weekend. And
Yes, man.
IMAX.
You're gonna please let me know what you think. Yes.
I
Should be
didn't
great.
want to. I wasn't going to watch it, but my wife, she loves the story.
Nice.
I just thought it seems kind of long.
Yeah.
But why not, man? I like movies.
Right. You watch Troy. You get it. You know
I actually
the
never watched
beginning.
Troy. I never watched Troy.
Well, now you have some time to watch Troy, or at least watch the cinema. What's it called? The people who make fun of movies. Honest trailers. You watch honest trailers of Troy. You're like, I get it, and then it'll be a nice 5 minutes, so you'll be all caught up and ready for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I usually stay away from period pieces. I don't know what it is about period pieces, man. I don't like them. I don't like Braveheart. Didn't like what's the other Mel Gibson movie in the South America? Damn, the other Mel Gibson movie. I didn't like that one either. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, Braveheart I liked. That was a strong, man doing things movie. Dang it, I don't know other Mel Gibson movies besides the Patriot. Patriot one. That was my. Yeah, that also wasn't. That wasn't the one.
But nah, I think it begins with an M. I forgot what
Mad Max.
what is the name of that
Not quite.
movie? Apocalypse. No, Apocalypse. I
I'm not
didn't like that.
Calypso. Yeah.
Apocalypto. Okay. Is that yeah. I don't like a lot of this stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just I just don't like period pieces. I don't like when you got to get into the whole thing of that moment sometimes. It's just
Did you watch Band of Brothers?
nah.
Yeah,
Nah.
me either. People tell me now, they're like, it changed my life. It was one of the best things of all time. I'm like, I'm gonna hate it. Okay.
It's not it's a TV show, right? It's not a movie, right?
Yeah, the whole series. It's very true.
I heard maybe it's something I could check out. I gotta find some new shows with my wife anyways.
Okay.
I'm gonna check it out, maybe.
Yes. You can watch 3/4 of Lost, or yeah, that's some.
Man.
I gotta set yourself up for failure.
Told you. I took
Quarter of Friends.
I look because everybody was like lost. So I took in like 1, 2, 3 episodes, and I'm like, this is not gonna be a good investment in my time. It's 100 and something episodes, something like that.
Right. Yes.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna be able to do it. So
yes, that's true.
So I'm gonna check it out, see what happens, and I'll let you know what I think.
All right, man. Sounds good.